The story of King David is one of the most remarkable and captivating tales in the Bible, full of drama, unlikely heroes, and divine interventions. Let's dive in. In ancient Israel, the first king, Saul, was struggling. He had disobeyed God, and God decided it was time for a new king. The search began for someone who would be a leader after God's own heart, and the choice was going to be surprising. Enter Samuel, the prophet. God told Samuel to visit a man named Jesse in the town of Bethlehem because one of Jesse's sons would be the new king. Samuel probably thought it would be someone strong, tall, and impressive, someone who looked like a king. Jesse lined up his sons for Samuel. One by one, they stood before the prophet: Eliab, Abinadab, Shammah, each one taller and more handsome than the next. But every time, God whispered to Samuel, "No, not him. I don't look at outward appearances, I look at the heart." Finally, Samuel asked, "Are these all your sons?" Jesse almost forgot. "Oh, there's one more, the youngest, but he's out tending the sheep." His name was David, just a shepherd boy, out in the fields. No one thought much of him. But when Samuel saw him, God said, "That's the one. Anoint him." The anointing, a surprising choice. David was probably shocked. One minute he was taking care of sheep, the next minute oil was being poured over his head by the prophet, marking him as the future king of Israel. It was a humble beginning, but God knew David's heart. David was a man of courage, faith, and humility, exactly the qualities God needed in a leader. But there was a catch. Saul was still king, and David wouldn't take the throne immediately. Instead, he'd embark on a journey of faith, trials, and adventure before becoming king. David and Goliath, the giant slayer. While David was still young, the Israelites were in a standoff with their enemies, the Philistines. The Philistines had a secret weapon, a giant warrior named Goliath. Standing over 9 feet tall, Goliath taunted the Israelites every day, challenging them to send a champion to fight him one-on-one. No one dared to face him, except David. Armed with nothing but his faith in God, a sling, and 5 smooth stones, David approached the giant. Goliath laughed at the sight of the boy, but David's faith was unwavering. "You come to me with a sword and spear," David said, "but I come to you in the name of the Lord." David slung a stone at Goliath, hitting him square in the forehead. The giant fell with a thunderous crash, and David became an instant hero. He wasn't just a shepherd anymore, he was Israel's champion, and word about him began to spread. The road to the throne, triumphs and trials. David became a trusted member of King Saul's court, playing the harp to soothe the troubled king and leading Saul's army to many victories. However, as David's fame grew, so did Saul's jealousy. Saul became paranoid, seeing David as a threat to his throne. Several times, Saul even tried to kill David. David could have fought back or tried to take the throne by force, but he didn't. Instead, he chose to run. David spent years hiding in caves and living as a fugitive, but he never lost faith in God's timing. Twice, David had the chance to kill Saul and end his own suffering, but he refused, saying, "I will not harm the Lord's anointed." This showed David's incredible patience and trust in God. The king, from shepherd to ruler. After years of conflict, King Saul died in battle. The way was finally clear for David to become king. He was anointed as the king of Judah first, and then later as the king of all Israel. His reign was marked by military victories, the establishment of Jerusalem as the capital, and the bringing of the Ark of the Covenant to the city, making it the spiritual center of Israel. Under David's leadership, Israel flourished. He was not perfect. David made mistakes, sometimes serious ones, but he always sought God's heart and repented when he was wrong. Through it all, God never abandoned David. The legacy, a king after God's own heart. David's story doesn't just end with him. His legacy carried on through his descendants, and God made a promise to David that his kingdom would last forever. This promise pointed to the future arrival of Jesus, the Messiah, who would be born from David's lineage, from shepherd boy to giant slayer, fugitive to king. David's life was a powerful reminder that God doesn't choose people based on their status or appearance, but based on their heart. David wasn't the obvious choice, but he was the right one, and through him, God showed the world what it means to have a heart after his own. David's story is one of trust, faith, courage, and the willingness to wait for God's perfect timing. His life shows that no matter how small or insignificant we might feel, God can use anyone for great things when they are faithful to him. Thanks for watching. Always remember, God cares.